Good morning, Rockland County and Clarkstown in particular. It's Clarkstown Supervisor George Hoehmann for our monthly edition of Hometown Happenings. Delighted to be on the powerful airwaves of 1700 AM WRCR. And we've got a couple of great guests. I want to first wish everybody a Happy New Year. This is the first time we're on with Hometown Happenings in 2023. And so I wish everybody listening a wonderful and Happy New Year. Different time, in a different day for the show this month. We had a conflict last week. Just wasn't able to do the show at our normal time. So we're in a different time slot and a different day. But again, we have Will, as our engineer, and he'll be screening the calls. And we are taking your calls at 845-429-1700. 845-429-1700. So first up is our wonderful highway superintendent, Bob Milone. And I know Bob's on the line, and he's going to give us a bit of a brief update, talk about the leaf season, how it went. He's also going to talk about some things that are new over at the highway department. We've got some construction projects over there. And he's also going to talk a little bit about winter storm prep and what we're doing in the town of Clarkstown. So I want to welcome my first guest, Clarkstown Superintendent of Highways, Bob Milone. Bob, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, George. Happy New Year, everyone. Yeah, we had a great leaf season this year. Due to the weather, we didn't have any snow events. We start picking up leaves about 6 weeks prior to the Christmas week, the holiday week. We work extra hours. We work on Saturday to get the leaves done. We have, 30,000 homes that we have to get to pick up the leaves. There's 1,400 roads, and we have 56 routes to do. And we get 14 crews out there to do it. So it takes a little time. This winter we found that the leaves came down early, and they all came down at pretty much the same time. So it took it took a little while to get through the first round. We try to get 2 rounds done before the holiday week, and if we do that, that's a successful leaf season. And we were able to accomplish that this year. But the first round, it took a little longer to get through, again, because we found that the leaves came down early, and then they came down a lot at the same time. So, but
could you characterize this, Bob? Just in terms of yards or tonnage. I know that I think that we probably collected more this year, I think, than we have in past years. Which is a sign of, people really using the program. It's a great service for the Clarkstown residents. This doesn't happen in every one of the municipalities. Some municipalities in the listening area, not just in Rockland, but I know we go outside of Rockland's borders, don't pick up leaves. So the program really is for people to put leaves right on the edge of their property. But roughly how many yards or tons of leaves did you pick up this year, and how did that compare to in previous years?
We picked up over 60,000 yards this year. I believe that was the final numbers. It was a little more than average than the previous years, but we were able to get it done quicker this year. It seemed like. So again, I think it was because it came down at once, and we were able to get through it. The first round was longer, but the second round we were able to fly right through, and we'll continue to pick up brush. I was told about 60,000 yards. I think they said it could fill up Giant Stadium about 30 feet tall.
Wow.
It is a tremendous amount of leaves that we get. Like you said, not many towns give this service. A lot of times you have to bag it and bring it to a site, or just bag it and they'll pick it up that way. But also with people cooperating, keeping the leaves off the road, it takes a little longer because we have to, most of the times we blow it off the lawn, or we can pick it off with our machinery. So it does take a little longer, but again, I couldn't ask for better weather this season, and now we're running around, we're doing brush pickup, and we're able to get into easements now and start cleaning out easements again with the mild winter.
Well, I think that's another great aspect of this leaf program, that we've really had a pretty mild winter to this point. I mean, we've had some weather, very, very mild icing conditions, no significant snow at this point, and that enables you to kind of get ahead, because what people don't realize is there's kind of a rhythm to the season, and the season with the highway department is, now we're into this the winter months, and so you're really kind of focusing on the snow, and battling the snow and the ice. And as I said, we're into the middle of January at this point, and we're not having a significant winter, as of this point. But you then have to kind of also be preparing for your paving season, correct? And so maybe you could tell us just a little bit about what the highway department's up to right now, in terms of that, and how you'll start to be pivoting to doing some of the culvert and catch basin work as well as the spring starts to hit us, right?
Yeah, you're just going back to with the snow. If we get a snow event during the leaf season, it just it sets us back. We have to retool the trucks from leaf pickup to plow, and so again, that is it saved us a lot of time and effort with that. But yeah, going forward, like I said, we're into our easements. We're clearing out the easements that we normally maybe not be able to get to. We're getting into them now. We're all prepped and ready to go for the snow. The trucks are all the plows are all done, and we actually built a new salt shed this year. We replaced the old dome salt shed that needed major renovation, that had a conveyor in it that kept breaking down. We went over to a gambrel type of building. It's a high arch gambrel. It's the trucks can actually back right in there, the triaxles, and dump salt. We just finished that about a month ago, and we just filled it up now. It holds about 5,000 tons of salt.
You can actually see that from the New York State Thruway, which abuts our property basically as you drive by, and so I know that it's the first of several projects we're doing over at the highway department as well. I mean, I know later this year we're going to be moving forward with some significant upgrades to the buildings over there. It's a tired old complex that really needs a lot of work to be done to it. I know that the county highway department is moving forward with their new highway complex. They're going to be moving out of New City eventually, and at some point that'll be done, and that's a extremely large project. How big is that project that the county's doing, and how big is the project we're doing over here?
Well, the county project is they have office buildings. They're putting for office space, mechanics, brand new mechanics garage, and a storage facility for the trucks. They also have a 10,000-ton salt shed, I believe it is, and a truck wash they're going to be putting up there too. So that's a massive renovation there, and it's going to be a beautiful facility when it's done. I think they're spending was it $40 million? I'm not sure.
Yeah. So it's pretty sizable project, but well needed for the county, and then they'll be able to move out of New City. They're literally on New Hempstead Road, and they'll be able to move over. They're going to be right off of the Garden State Parkway extension off of the New York State Thruway in the Nanuet Spring Valley area. But I know that we have plans. I mean, we're expanding on the building, and we're going to be doing some work. When is that going to kick off over at the highway department?
It's supposed to be. We're going to start it this year. We have we're going to add a 100 by 175 foot Butler type building extension onto the existing building. It'll help us store our trucks inside. Because we have 60 plow routes, so we have we're the largest highway department in the county, and probably one of the largest in the state. But so a lot of our trucks sit outside in the weather, and I just think that it's we spend a lot of money on our equipment, and keeping them inside will be important to extend the life of them. And then when 15 years we try to get 15 years out of a truck, and when it comes time to sell them, we really don't get much for them because they're rusted. But putting these trucks inside is going to save a lot on maintenance too.
Yeah. So I know it's well needed, and I know you've worked very, very hard on this, and it'll be kicking off, and then we're going to be doing some additional renovations to the building as well. And my hope is that we're going to finish all that off with, you have an enormous roof at the highway department, and when everything is done and finished, we're looking at doing solar over there, and it should give us well over a megawatt of solar power. And our hope is that we're going to be able to take all town government operations off the grid with the amount of solar that we're going to be adding within the town. So it's going to definitely save us some money. But Highway Superintendent Bob Milone, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. I know I have another guest that's about to come on to talk about some of the economic development work we're doing in the town. But is there anything else you have to add? Words of caution or wisdom to our residents as you try to, battle the snow. We know that we haven't had any snow, to mention yet, but we're not going to dodge the bullet this entire winter, nor should we. The last program that was just on here, the Stormwater Consortium folks, we absolutely need the snow because we need the rain. And the precipitation to be able to fill up the reservoir and help recharge the aquifers. But I know that you always have words of wisdom and caution to our residents when we do have snow, and maybe you could just reiterate that before we let you go.
Yeah, it's like we always say, just stay off the roads as much as possible. Make sure you don't put no overnight parking. That's a big problem here. We have got people that park their cars in the road knowing the snow event is coming, and they shouldn't be out there at all from November to, I think, April is the date. So, again, only travel when you have to. Let us do our job and get out there and clear the roads.
Great. Well, Highway Superintendent Bob Milone, thanks for jumping on and giving us a quick update on the Highway Department. Lots of great things happening over there under your leadership, and I look forward to continuing to work with you as you do a great job, as our Highway Superintendent. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Supervisor, and thanks for your support. So.
Okay, our next guest, and again, we are taking calls, 845-429-1700, 845-429-1700. So we go from an update about our highway department, and it was pretty all-encompassing. We're going to touch base on a new grant program here in the town of Clarkstown targeted to our businesses to help them improve their appearances, as well as a brief look at some of the new economic development projects that are coming in to the town of Clarkstown. So my next guest is Jeff Gillies, who works in our economic development office here in the town of Clarkstown. Jeff, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Supervisor.
So, Jeff, I know one of the things that we've done in the town of Clarkstown is an exciting new grant program called the Sign Initiative or the Sign Program. And maybe you could just describe that program in brief and how where the targeted businesses are for it. And I've got a couple other questions as well.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we're super excited about this program. It's really going to help our small businesses and specifically in our hamlet centers. So we've
and
using
Jeff,
American Rescue Plan.
Jeff, maybe you could just, it's funny, not everybody understands what a hamlet center is, so maybe you could just tell us what some of those hamlet centers are where the grant program is targeted to.
Absolutely. So the hamlet center zoning is pretty much your downtown business district within the hamlet. So in New City, that's going to be primarily along like Main Street and Maple. In Nanuet, primarily along Main Street, Lake Road and Congers, Kings Highway, Valley Cottage, West Nyack Road in West Nyack. The areas where in the hamlets themselves you have the smaller businesses in the typical Main Street USA feel. Right, so those locations would be the primary ones.
And tell us about the program now that's targeted towards these businesses. They can apply to get new signs and facade work done?
That's correct. So there's two aspects to the grant. The first is a business can qualify for up to $5,000 for a new sign and up to $10,000 for a facade improvement. So for example, lighting, painting the storefront, awnings, any work to the siding or brickwork or anything like that. So anything that's going to improve the exterior look and feel of the business to try to make our Main Street Hamlet Center zoning more attractive, attract better business, have people want to come in there and spend money and spend time.
Right,
so,
and I know that this is one of the things that we've been desirous of in the town. It's really to provide some incentives for some cohesiveness amongst our signs. And what are the types of signs that are really being that'll be done with this program?
Sure. So one of the main things that we've had is we have a large number of signs, particularly in those areas that are the old light box type signs, which aren't actually even code compliant anymore. And rather than go out and force businesses to spend money that they may or may not have, the grant program is a great way for a business to potentially come into compliance with code, or to just make it look nicer. And really what we're targeting is the more classic look of carved wood signs with the gooseneck lamps on them, or channel letters, with a raceway background. Those are the two primary types of signs that we're looking to have people upgrade to, that seem to be the most popular in terms of what looks nice and what people think is attractive, and makes the Hamlet Center look better. And yeah, in a lot of cases, we want to have some cohesiveness within a given strip mall or a given building, to have the signs be in the same color scheme. And not that we want the same color scheme all the way up and down through Main Street, but within a building to get some cohesiveness and some uniformity, but also have some variety as well too.
Yeah. So essentially, what we're hopeful is that this is a sizable amount of money, $500,000 that's been earmarked using American Rescue Plan funding, and so literally we could, depending on how many people apply, 50 to 100 businesses throughout the Hamlet centers. That's a sizable amount of businesses that could avail themselves of this program, where they would basically be able to get a free sign. Those carved wood signs go for anywhere from, depending on the size, from a couple of thousand to 3,000 to 4,000, and along with the electrical hookup. So essentially, this is basically paying for a sign for a building, with the idea that they're going to spend additional dollars to be able to make some of these buildings look better. We've invested millions, tens of millions of dollars into our downtown areas. We're about to go out to bid later in the year for downtown West Nyack, and that'll be one of the last hamlets that we're going to be addressing. We started 20 years ago, 2 supervisors ago, with Congers. We did Valley Cottage, we did New City, Nanuet, and we're working on West Nyack, which is going to be beautiful. And part of that is some of the businesses haven't really kept up with putting matching the investment in their buildings that the town has actually invested in the downtown centers. And so the hope is that we'll get some businesses to be able to avail themselves of this program. And my hope is that by putting the information out there, any of our listeners, if you're going into businesses in these downtown areas, tell them you heard about this sign program and tell them to contact us in the town. Jeff, how do people find out about the program? How do they apply for it?
Sure. So there's a couple ways they can do it. Probably the easiest thing to know is they can just Google or do a web search for Clarkstown Small Business Grant, and that'll take you to the website on the town's website that gives you all the information as well as the application. There's also you can download the application. You can fill it out online. There's an interactive zoning map that will help you determine if you're in that Hamlet Center zoning. And you can also just email sign grants, plural, so SIGNGRANTS @clarkstown.org. And we'd be happy to send you an application. I'll even come out if someone has questions and wants further information. I'm available to come out and meet with the business owner or the property owner. And then basically the process is you just apply for the grant. It's a very simple application. It takes you only 10 minutes to fill it out. The committee would review it. We would require that the business, if you're applying for a new sign, right, you have to get that approved by our AHRB board. So part of the grant is going to be that you're going to have to go before the board and make sure that you get the sign approved and in compliance with town code. If you're looking to do a facade improvement, you'd have to go through the building department, when applicable, and just basically any work that needs to be approved by the town, you have to go through the proper channels. Then you would install the sign or complete the work, and then the town would then reimburse you for the expense. Again, up to $5,000 for a sign and up to $10,000 for a sign improvement.
That's great. And Jeff, I want to thank you for your work on this, because I think it's much needed. And obviously we're excited about this sign grant, because I do believe it's going to help us in some of these targeted areas. So Jeff, I know we've got an awful lot going on in terms of business development within the town of Clarkstown, and we only have about 3 minutes left. So what I'd like to do is just touch base on a couple of projects that are starting to move forward. I know the much anticipated, and I love to talk about this on the radio, because I know when Teresa Kenny comes on, she can't talk about it. Then we always joke amongst ourselves. We had a friendly little bet that one of us would be able to get Chick-fil-A, and Chick-fil-A is actually on its way into the town of Clarkstown. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about Chick-fil-A, the Starbucks, and some of the other stuff that's coming in, some of the bigger projects, and just do it very briefly, because we've only got about 3 minutes left.
Absolutely. So I spoke with the Chick-fil-A people this morning, actually. They recently got the first step in their approval process is to get the environmental review done, right? So they got through the seeker process. And the next step is they are now off to the town's ZBA, the Zoning Board of Appeals, for a couple of minor variances that they need. I think one is parking that's encroaching into the buffer just a little bit between them and St. Anthony's. And so they have to go to the ZBA to get those approved. Then they will come back to the planning board, presuming that they get those approvals. If they get those, that they would come back to the ZBA, back to the planning board for preliminary. Then they'd go to the AHRB to get the aesthetics approved, the landscaping, the lighting, the building look and feel, and all that. And then they would come back into the planning board for final approval. So they are working on their ZBA application, which they expect to be in next week. And that was as of my conversation with them this morning.
So they would probably move through ZBA. I'm just going to try and expedite this, but pretty quickly. So we're figuring probably 6 months to get their approvals from this point going forward.
Yeah, I'm hoping we can do it in 5, but we'll see. We'll see, right?
So it's a contingent on county planning board reviews, but that'll be on Route 59 in Nanuet, where the old Vista Dinettes is. That entire antiquated strip mall, which is mainly empty now, is going to be torn down in between Liberty Travel and St. Anthony's, and where the old Coupe was as well. And it's all going to be torn down, and we're going to have a brand new Chick-fil-A with great parking as well. In addition to that, Jeff, I know we've got a bunch of other projects that are coming through. Without getting into too much detail, maybe you can just rattle off some of the ones that are coming through the town.
Yeah, absolutely. So Starbucks, the old police station on 304 and West Nyack Road there, the old dilapidated, boarded up house that's kind of been an eyesore forever. They are coming back to the planning board for final approval on January 25th. And that would be the last step in their approval process. They've been through the environmental and the AHRB, so they're coming in for their final approval on the 25th. We do have a couple of new restaurants that have opened up. Bailey's is coming to New City, and they will be open on Saturday, January 15th. El Toro Steakhouse in Congers, next to Sangria's on 303, same ownership. They are now open. 2 great additions to the dining options that we have here in Clarkstown. You got a number of new businesses that open up in the shops. You got Roasted Coffee, which does their own coffee roasting. Sombrero Taqueria is now open, where the old taqueria was. A new store called Costway has been open. The Palisades Center has got 2 great new entertainment venues, one called Time Mission, and Golf Zone is set to open up later this month. That would be 22 simulation bays, where you do simulated golf courses. You could play Pebble Beach or whatever course that you want to play. And they're going to have food options and a full bar. Ulta Beauty opened up in Nanuet recently. And we got 2 car washes coming. And Jaguar Land Rover got their final approval last night at planning board. So they will be starting construction of that dealership soon, right next to the Palisades Center and the West Nyack Fire Department substation on Route 59.
And of course, we have the big warehouse project that got their approvals, and they're under construction in the Clarkstown Executive Park. And then we've got a bunch of projects that are coming through the pipeline as well that'll be coming before the planning board. So, Jeff, maybe you could just give your contact info if anybody wants to reach out to you about economic development opportunities of the sign program.
Absolutely. So my email is j.gillies, Gillies, @clarkstown.gov. And my direct line is 845-639-2063.
Well, Jeff, I want to thank you for being such a great guest, and we're going to let you go. I want to thank all of our listeners for listening this month to Hometown Happenings, and I want to thank our two wonderful guests, our Highway Superintendent Bob Milone and Jeff Gillies, our Coordinator of Economic Development in the town of Clarkstown. Until next time, I'm Supervisor George Hoehmann, and thanks for joining us on this monthly edition of Hometown Happenings. Speak to you next month, everyone.
Because I'm happy.